What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. I got a review for you. Let's get into it. Got a new model coming from Kunwu that I'm very excited to jump into. And I'll be honest with you, wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it when this one started out, but once we got going, actually impressed. What are we looking at today? We're looking at the Kunwu Geyser. All right, guys, you know the drill. We're going to be doing size comparisons, profile, weighing the knife, and then we'll jump into thoughts and impressions. Let's kick it off with a couple size comparisons. All right, so on the table, we have the Vosteed Hedgehog and Kunwu Padre on the table. As you can see, this is definitely a full-size knife, coming in just a little bit bigger than your Hedgehog, which does offer a full 4-finger grip. Let's do a couple more. All right, since this is more of a slip joint type knife, I wanted to go ahead and get a couple of mine from the collection out here. So we got the Rosecraft Lusahachi on the table, and we got the QSP Traditional Pocket Knives Exclusive Hedgehog. And as you can see, the Geyser is actually much bigger than both. Let's do close profile and then we'll weigh the knife. Okay, so this is a little bit of a different take from here. It is a modern traditional slip joint style knife, but it does have a pocket clip like a traditional folder. I did want to go ahead and bring out the Lusahachi here, more of what I would consider fifth pocket dropper, or using a clip slip, or even in your pouch. This would be really comparable, just to show you the size difference for the Geyser. And then the Padre, which I consider to be more full size, you can see here, this is probably going to be more comparable to like your Bug Out, or maybe even like your Hedgehog here closed. It's not going to take up a ton of space, but it is going to be pretty discreet folded up, and again does have that pocket clip, so you do have a unique way to carry this one. As far as closed profile, it is definitely more of a thinner carry. It's going to be a little bit more comparable to like a modern traditional slip joint. Once you look past the chamfering, it is a little bit thinner, but still very similar profile. And then for something against like a full-size knife, it's going to be about half that size as far as the carry profile is concerned. Let's go ahead and grab the scale and check out the weight. Okay, scale out here on and ready to weigh this one. Doesn't feel awful, and there are some different variants on here, so that weight will vary a little bit depending on which version you pick up. So coming in at 3.1, I imagine the carbon fiber version of this one's probably going to be slightly lighter than that, but definitely check for that if you're interested in your weight. Let's go ahead and put the scale away and jump into it. All right, guys. As I said, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this one. The aesthetics to me were very interesting. I'll put it to you that way. It tapers out really large here, and it comes to a very acute tip. So closed up, I wasn't quite sure why they wanted to do it that way. You know, the blade is actually pretty far away from the top, so they have a lot of space here for this lanyard attachment that they integrated into the back spring, and then the pocket clip kind of sits way down on the bottom. So a little confused at first when I saw this design, and kind of perplexed as to why they decided to go that way. But once I got this in hand and started to do some cutting with it, that's when I really realized where this one shines. So doesn't look awful closed, and it's certainly an attractive looking design open, in my opinion, especially with the materials and the build quality that I'm familiar with from Kunwu. They do very good build quality, and I like a lot of their designs. They're very, very cool. Some take inspiration from others. Some are more unique in their own styling, and that's one thing that I do really appreciate about Kunwu. In the hand, very comfortable, good cutting geometry. It was part of the pass around, so at the beginning you probably saw, you know, the edge was a little overworked and probably hadn't been stropped. But once I started cutting through the cardboard, it was very slicey, good thin geometry, and very comfortable to hold in hand. One thing that I did like, it does have the jimping down here underneath the blade, and it's a nice spot for you to kind of choke up. And then I wouldn't recommend putting pressure on the knife, but if you started to, you could control keeping that from going too far. So I'm actually pushing into my index finger, and that is keeping it from breaking down into the hand. Now the jimping is as far back as they could get it on the spine, but it is kind of deceptive as far as you being able to put pressure on it. What I would say is if you're cutting and slicing down and out through something, it's just going to help keep it from sliding in and out of the hand versus you using that to push towards the blade, to push into the material. Everything that you're going to want to push is going to be in the handle. So if you're cutting through something dense, like, I demonstrate normally on my own knives the denim roll, but I keep the cutting light for these pass around samples here that are going around. But I would recommend that you push with this actually into your palm and keep that pressure back up off of the blade when you're going through it. The good thing is, because it is such a thin blade stock and it does have such a tall flat grind that's really thin behind the edge, it's not a lot of resistance that you're meeting when you're cutting with this particular one. Jimping is tight and aggressive, so it is going to keep your hand locked in. This is really comfortable for the pinch grip. I land perfectly here in this fuller, and then right here on the start of the clip point for indexing. So for me, this is very comfortable to use in a pinch grip. I really do like that a lot. I don't need to put a lot of pressure. Once I push down on it, onto whatever it is that I'm going to be cutting, it's very easy to use. And then for detailed work, again, that jimping is going to work to your advantage here for that, and then it's going to really allow you to control the cut, especially if you're trying not to go deep into something like a package you don't want to potentially damage, which is whatever is inside. You have your typical Kunwu pattern here on both the pivot and on the hardware that you're going to be removing. It is T8. I did check that on the pivot. I didn't check it on the rest of the hardware though. So it looks like it is going to be T6 everywhere else. Yeah, T6 everywhere else, just T8 in the pivot only. So make note of that, T6 throughout. And I think with this particular model, it's going to be okay because you're probably really not going to be doing a ton of disassembly. And it does look like they're riding on, I know I'm not going to be able to get it to show up on camera, guys, but it does look like there's some phosphor bronze potentially in there. It could be the lighting playing tricks with me, on me, I should say. But it does look like there's phosphor bronze in the pivot. Really hard to see that. The walk and talk on this, it's got a very interesting sound, especially on the first pull. Now on the close, it is using a stop pin, a very small stop pin, but that stop pin is what is keeping it's hitting way back here, I believe. Actually, just a little bit past the sharpening choil. It's hitting right about here. It actually matches up on this particular example perfectly with that plunge grind where it stops. So you are going to be able to get some sharpening life out of this. So really good there. But when it's using just the back lock or back spring, sorry. And this one here is more of like your European style. So it's got that 3/4 stop. And the point of that is really to keep it away from potentially hitting the finger when you open it. It's a very light pull. It's very soft. And I think that makes it easy to open. It's not weak, but the pull, and I think because of the fact that there's so much blade exposed and so much leverage, because here it feels more, when you're using the inner one, feels more like a 6'2", 6'4", and then this one here feeling more like a 7.5. And then when you come out further onto the blade with more leverage, it makes it feel like it's like a 4.6 and maybe like a 5.5, maybe even maybe 5.8 right there. So depending on where you're pulling it, but that leverage is what makes it feel like it's easy to open and easy to control. If you wanted it to feel like a heavier pull, just come in closer. Man, it really gives a good sound when you do it there. Listen to that. I'm not quite sure. Maybe because it's so fast. Yeah, it definitely sounds a little different. That's so unique. It really pops on that first pull when you're using that interfuller on this example. Your steel here is coming with LMAX. You're getting a machine satin finish. Very nicely done. Got the name of the knife here tucked in a little bit bigger than the blade steel name, but that's all that you have as far as the name. This one here happens to have that copper carbon foil finish on it on both sides, which I do appreciate. Reversible pocket clip, which is a good thing. You got a little bit of a pummel back here. I'm not quite sure what you would use that for. It almost looks like a flathead-esque style, but I don't know that it's usable. It's a little shallow, I think. Um, Lanyard on the back. I guess if you wanted to pull it out of a slip or out of your pocket, it would have been cool if you wanted this to be in a slip or a slip clip, if they would have included just an extra filler tab, and maybe it comes with one. With the pass around, I might not have it, to remove that pocket clip and just go ahead and put it in there, and the filler tab in there, and just make it a complete, modern traditional. Overall, really like this. It's coming in at some very interesting pricing here. Not terribly expensive, not cheap. You got a lot of premium materials here. The one thing that I would like to see on here, besides the extra filler tab, if it doesn't come with that, I'd like to see this, instead of it being chamfered, kind of what they did with the S-Tal 2, where it's more contoured. Unfortunately, when you do something like that, it does take extra machining time. It would drive the price up a little bit. I think best to launch it like in the Series 1 format, where it's a flat scale, but it is chamfered around the edges nicely to feel comfortable and give you that contour-esque feel. The way that it kind of finishes there, it doesn't quite feel exactly the same as a contoured handle or a scale, but it does still make it feel kind of nice in the hand, and I think that makes it a little bit, or helps keep the price down a little bit here, considering all of what you're getting. The orange peel here too also gives a little bit of texture, so it's not completely smooth. But one thing that I did notice that they did on some of their towels in the beginning, they did a little bit of micro milling around the edges here, and I kind of missed that they didn't elect to do that on this one. Maybe they felt like it would keep it from looking super clean. I think it would have added a little bit of detail to it, to me personally, just to have that little milling like you would see on the towel line there, where they chamfered and then they gave you a little bit of milling for some extra grip. Looks nice too. Really low tip. Like I said, this is going to be great for pinch grip, detailed work. The LMAX dropped right up when I was finished, and again, sliced really, really clean. This one's going to be a little bit more of a bigger knife. What I have in my inventory that's going to compete is going to be your traditional pocket knives exclusive Hedgehog. You're getting M390 treated at 59 to 61. You're getting a hollow grind. You're getting titanium with different materials as far as camo carbon, fat carbon materials. I think they used all camo carbon, if I recall correctly. This one here does have a little lanyard hole, but this is going to be more of your fifth pocket dropper, pouch, clip slip type knife, and this one's going to have a very strong pull. This feels, by comparison, that first pull, even if I bring it in a little bit, feeling like a strong solid 8 for that, and then the second pull like a 7.5. Walk and talk, not as poppy as it is on the Geezer. Let's see, Lusahachi, a little bit more poppy. Yeah, this one talks a lot more. This one kind of in between the two. And kind of reverse of what you see here. The first pull is more of that 6.2, and that second pull is like a 7.3, 7.4. So it gets stronger on that second pull there. This one's going to be the smallest option and still my favorite option in that size and price point, meaning under 100. This one here slightly over 100, but excellent materials and build quality. You got nearly seamless. The only reason I can tell where the spring is because it is polished, whereas the rest of the material, the titanium, is more like that sandblasted or raw finish. And then here you can kind of see where they gave just a little bit of space. There's no gapping really, minor gapping really between the blade and the spring on this one. And then just a little bit of gapping on either side of that knife's blade, or that blade before the handle material there. And then when you look at like the Rosecraft here, because it is all polished, sorry, it's a little dirty from pocket time, and very minimal. I mean, you can see just a little tiny seam. Sorry, I'm a little close there. Little tiny seams on either side around where the blade is. They are, dang, that's pretty flush. That is dead flush. And this one has a crowned, like a crowned-esque spine. No, this one is completely flat, but they purposely shadow boxed it. So you don't have anything flush, it's shadow boxed, but it's very tight to the blade. And again, because of the size, a little bit easier to open and close. I really like this one. I think it is very interesting, compelling. I think it does a lot to lend itself to being slightly different. You got that pocket clip. It is a reversible pocket clip, so you could totally carry this as a primary. If you like walk and talk knives, if you're not allowed to have locking knives, this is going to be, again, a great option. For me, it would be a very nice companion carry. Truth be told, I'd probably carry this duo. Both have low tips, so they'd be great for working. Both have a little bit of belly. They're going to be great slicers. This one's going to be a little bit more unassuming to take out. People are going to see how you open it, and they're just not going to be as freaked out. Honestly, I think this could draw in some interest for folks when they see this, because it's very different from your non-locking folding knives that you typically see out there. Let me know what you think about the Geezer overall in the comments down below, guys. Very interested to hear what you think about this one. If it is not your typical knife, or it's not one that you're interested in, definitely feel free to leave comments down below about pocket dumps or what you're carrying and anything that you'd like to know and or ask. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out to this point. If you enjoyed the video on your way out, don't forget to leave a like. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. And I hope you have a fantastic week. I'll catch you on the next one. Love you guys. Peace.